So I've had quite a few bad experiences with strange people and my house. From when I was young, an old man would come banging on our door late at night demanding to see me, causing me to have to hide in the house and not be allowed into my garden alone for years. Or when a man came knocking on our door late at night with a knife because he mistook our house for my neighbor's. These experiences all caused me to be very cautious about opening the front door to anyone or even being in the house alone, especially at night. But one evening was definitely the worst. It was around 6 p.m. in November of 2018, and I'm from England, meaning it was already pitch black outside at this time of the year. I had just got home from work and was sat in my room upstairs just watching YouTube on my laptop. My mom shouted up to me that she was going to pick my brother up from work and would be stopping off at a petrol station on the way back, so she would be gone for a little bit, and asked if I wanted to come. I said no and carried on with my video. I heard her close the front door and pull out of the driveway. I was 17 at that time, so being home alone at night was nothing new to me, and I was used to the eerie feeling of it. But after around 10 minutes, I started hearing noises coming from downstairs. At first, I thought nothing of it and just related it to my cat noisily searching for food in an empty bowl. Until I remembered him sitting at the end of my bed. I paused my video and listened more at the sound of banging on the back door. This instantly creeped me out until it was followed by the sound of keys jangling, and I just thought, oh, my mom must have just dropped my brother off before going to the petrol station, and he's just trying to go outside. So I let the noise continue as I kept watching my video. He can get quite angry sometimes, so the loud banging was nothing out of the ordinary, but it just kept carrying on. Banging and the sounds of keys jangling, then dropping, then banging again. Then the fear really hit me. I don't think it's him. I walked out of my room slowly and sat on the stairs listening carefully to the noise. It definitely wasn't him. I'm a very anxious person, and everyone gets those times late at night when they hear noises and immediately think the worst. This was just one of those, I told myself, so I decided to bite the bullet and just walk straight into the kitchen and face whatever it was causing the noise. Our kitchen has the door straight to the garden. But as I turned the corner into the kitchen, I heard a loud bang and clatter of footsteps run away. The cat flap had been ripped off the door, and there was plastic from it everywhere. In fear, I still tried to console myself, thinking it could be anything other than people breaking in. I sat back on the stairs and called my mom just to check that it wasn't my brother home early and just in a bad mood. But then he answered my mom's phone while still in the car. "Are you at home?" I shouted at him. "No." Then my voice started to break with terror. "Please be serious. Are you at home right now?" "No. What do you want?" And even though he said he wasn't, I still begged in my mind that he was joking just to get a scare out of me. But he heard how scared I was and began to worry. I explained to him what happened, and he started to scream at me to call the police. He's never been the protective type, but I could tell now he was really worried and told my mom to rush back home straight away. While dialing 999, I tried so hard to stay calm. I told them exactly what was happening as I hid back in my room with the door tightly locked. Then I heard talking and the banging of doors again downstairs. They were back. I burst into tears to the dispatcher out of pure fear and sat on the phone for what felt like forever until my mom, brother, and the police all pulled up at the same time. Everyone charged through the house to the back door, and we instantly saw what they have done. The people saw the keys to the back door on the side of the kitchen, took a broom from outside, broke it in half on the door handle, got the broom through the cat flap, knocked the keys off the side, and pulled them through the cat flap. Although out of pure luck, as they broke the broom in half, they also managed to snap off the door handle, making it impossible for it to be opened from the outside. Otherwise, they would have got in, no question asked, and I would have been sat quietly in my room, completely oblivious. It was clear afterward that they had been watching the house for a while, waiting until the exact moment they saw my mom's car pull out of the driveway. I'm not sure if they knew I was there alone or not, but I know that after they initially saw me and ran away, they made a choice to come back. So dickheads who don't know how to open doors properly, let's not meet. This happened like 2 weeks ago or sometime around the beginning of the month. I, 15 and female, and my little sister, 13, were staying at my older sister's apartment for a day. She's 26, by the way. She just got a kitten and needed us to watch her for a day. So we went over to her apartment one night and would stay overnight and the next day until she came home from work. Me and my sister are doing school virtually, so we just brought our school laptops and supplies with us. My older sister had left for work that morning, sometime around 6 to 6:30 a.m., I believe. Me and my younger sister woke up around 7 and started getting ready for school. Before my older sister left, she locked the door behind her, and this will be important later. There is also a chain on the door, but it obviously can't be accessed from the outside of the apartment. One of the first things I did that morning on instinct was to put the chain on the door. I tend to be an overly careful person, so it was just natural to me. One thing I remember specifically is that I didn't touch the lock on the door, just the chain. I wasn't sure if it was locked or not. My sister didn't tell us that she locked it in the morning. I just assumed she did and confirmed that she did later on. And I didn't want to accidentally unlock the door. So I went with the idea that my older sister most likely already locked it and that I shouldn't mess with it. I didn't think anything of it afterward. Me and my younger sister decided it would be easier to focus if we were working in different rooms of the apartment. She took my older sister's bedroom, and I decided to stay in the living room. The living room is the first room you walk into when you open the front door. The whole space is pretty open and goes into a small kitchen and a den. Right past the den is the bedroom. Me and my sister weren't really that far apart from each other. Anyway, skip ahead about 2 hours. My class was about to end, and I start to hear this violent banging on the front door. At first, I thought maybe I was misinterpreting where the noise was coming from, and thought maybe it was someone banging on a different door right next to us. We weren't expecting anyone or anything, and my mind didn't immediately pick up that someone could want to get in for whatever reason. I assumed maybe someone got locked out of the apartment next to us and was trying to wake their roommate or something. Probably not super logical of me, but I was starting to get nervous. The banging was extremely loud, but I never heard a voice. I was only mere feet from the door. If someone had said something, I would have heard it. The banging went on for about 5-ish minutes, maybe a little more. I was definitely freaked out, but I decided not to move. I texted my little sister during it, and told her that someone was banging on the door. She told me she could hear it too and thought maybe I had dropped something. I told her that I was getting freaked out. Then it stopped. For maybe 2 minutes there was nothing but silence. I thought maybe that was the end of it, but after that 2 minutes, it started back up. I was still in my math class and my teacher is trying to tell us about the homework and someone's violently banging on the door right next to me. I was getting panicky. I start wondering if I'm going to die or something, but I just ignore that and try to focus on my teacher. The banging continued for another 5 to 7 minutes, and in the middle of it, I think I hear a click. To me, it sounded almost like a door unlocking, but I thought that just couldn't be, and I was just being irrational. I joked to myself to just watch as the door handle would dramatically, slowly turn and the door would open. A second later, I watched as that happened in real time. I froze. The door handle was opened slowly. The room was silent. I didn't dare say anything. I was scared beyond belief. The door opened, but not all the way, because I put the chain on that morning. The door was at a slight angle, so I couldn't see the person, and I don't think they could have seen me, not unless they put their face through the door or something. After about 3 seconds of silence, the door slowly shut and the banging stopped. I got up immediately to lock the door. What's great about this is that I was so nervous, I just ignored the fact that someone just tried to break in and put my earbuds back to listen to the last 5 minutes of class. My teacher, peers, even my sister was just kind of oblivious to the fact that we were just in real danger. After both our classes ended, me and my younger sister started talking about it. She texted my older sister and told her what happened, and we literally just went on with our day like normal. And when my older sister got home that day around 4 to 4:30 p.m., she started asking more about it. I told her the story in more detail, and as she drove us home, she called who I believe is the landlord. A few weeks before this happened, my sister called for maintenance to come to her apartment and fix one of her bathrooms. She thought that maybe it was them. When she called, she asked if maintenance would give her notice or let her know beforehand if they were coming. She also asked if they would let her know that it was maintenance, like maybe a quick shout, "It's maintenance!" So we would come open the door. To be frank, I don't remember the woman's response to my sister's first question, but she definitely said that the maintenance would call out to her or something. My sister also mentioned that the banging was so violent that the door frame had been damaged. The woman said that their staff wouldn't damage the property. Now remember when I said I heard a click on the door unlock? Well, maintenance has key to every door. My sister had her key and the spare one. The woman said she would talk to maintenance and ask if they had been up there, to which they confirmed no, that they hadn't. Like a day or two later, we asked if the locks ever got changed. They were changed as soon as a tenant left, so it wasn't someone who used to live there and still had a key. I don't know how this person unlocked the door. The woman recommended that if she found out it wasn't maintenance, to which all of us were pretty sure at that point, that she would file a police report. I think it was maybe a day later. My older sister was leaving for work again, and she realized as she was leaving, she forgot her water bottle and went back to grab it. She made sure to lock her door again as she left. She was pretty freaked out from the previous event and was hyper vigilant, so we're pretty sure that she locked it on her way out. She got back from home that day and found out that the door to her apartment was open about a foot. After this, I believe she filed the police report. I just hate that I acted so stupidly. I should have called the police right as that second wave of banging hit. At any moment, I could have looked through the peephole. I could have seen the person's face. Maybe if I had moved or gotten up even just a little, I could have got a look at them. But I was so scared. I just froze. I know what I should have done in this situation. Call the police. Maybe grab a knife from the kitchen or some sort of weapon. Hide, and many more. But in that moment, I didn't do anything. I don't think I even fully comprehend how much danger I was in until the door opened. I hoped if I didn't say anything, they would just leave. And I guess they did. I know I should be trying to go easy on myself, given that I'm 15, and I've never been in a situation like that before. I've never really been trained for that sort of situation, unless you want to include horror movies. Funnily enough, I am the dumb person in a horror movie, and I don't do anything smart in the face of danger. And there's the fact that I have pretty severe anxiety issues. I've never been formally diagnosed with anything, but I know I definitely have an unhealthy relationship with it, to say the least. I have anxiety on an almost daily basis, and I've had multiple panic attacks. I've missed so much school, and at one point, went to see a therapist about it when I was 13. I was tested on the adult anxiety test, and my therapist told me it was concerningly high. So to say that I can't properly deal with emotions is fair. I think that's one of the biggest reasons I didn't do anything. I thought I was being irrational. I'm just so used to thinking I'm blowing something out of proportion. I assumed I was doing it again. And then again, maybe I'm just trying to justify stupidity. I guess I'm still just annoyed with myself, like I could have done better. The only thing I can really do now is to hope that nothing like this ever happens again. But if so, I know what to do now. So far, me and my family have some theories. We figured this person may be learning my older sister's routine and thought nobody would be home. Once the door opened and he saw the chain, he realized that there were people inside and left. We thought maybe he got in by taking an old key or something and jammed it into the lock and banged on it to unlock it. Maybe he somehow got a key to the apartment though. I thought for a while, maybe when I put the chain on, I really did unlock the door. I don't think so though. I'm not sure of anything at this point. Those are just theories, and we're not professionals by any means. If anything else happens, I'll update the post, but for right now, we just have to hang tight. I am a 27-year-old woman, and this happened to me 9 or 10 years ago. When I was a senior in high school, we lived in a pretty large house, but my siblings were all away at college or boarding school, so it was only my parents and I in the house. I'm a crazy light sleeper, so when I woke up in the dark and saw my alarm clock flashing 3:11 a.m., I wasn't too surprised. However, I was wide awake, not just groggily steering in my sleep. I lay there, wondering what had woken me up, when I heard very soft footsteps on the stairs outside my bedroom. The door to my room was parallel to the left side of the bed, and I happened to be laying with my back to the door. When the footsteps approached my door, I thought it must be one of my parents, checking on me for some reason. Then, the doorknob was turned, so slowly. Still, I thought they were just trying not to wake me up. The door began to open, again, slowly and carefully. It made a creaking sound, no matter how slowly it opened, so the person finally just shoved it the rest of the way to silence the creak. Still, my naive brain thought it was one of my parents, until they clicked on a flashlight. I froze. Terror flooded me. and I remember that I instantly broke out in sweat. They were behind me, and I was facing away, so they couldn't see my eyes wide open as they shone the beam straight on me. I always used to think that if something like that ever happened, I would be such a badass and I would whip out the bed and punch them and attack them, shout, scream, or do something. But I could do nothing at all. All I could do was try to keep my breathing deep and even, despite the pounding of my heart, so that the intruder wouldn't know that I was awake. After about 10 seconds, they finally moved the light away. I prayed and begged and bartered with anything that would listen to me as the intruder walked around my room, looking at my things. I could vaguely see their shape, large and bulky, like they were wearing 2 coats. They had a baseball cap on, and they didn't shine the flashlight on me again. And after a few minutes, which felt like an eternity, they left my room. I could still hear them though, walking around the rest of the second floor through my siblings' empty bedrooms. I was still sweating, still frozen in terror, not knowing what to do. I wanted to grab my phone and call my dad, sleeping downstairs. I wanted to call our landline so that the phone would ring and wake my parents up. I wanted to call the police. I wanted to get up and run from my room. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't do any of those things. I was afraid that they would hear me, and I didn't know if they had a weapon or would try to hurt me or my parents. I wouldn't wish such helpless terror on my worst enemy. I don't know how, but I must have passed out from fear, or the adrenaline wore off and I fell asleep somehow. Because the next thing I knew, it was 6 a.m. and I could hear my parents downstairs. I ran downstairs and as calmly as I could, I asked them if one of them had been in my room last night. Their faces went blank and they said no, they hadn't. That was the last straw. I broke down in sobs and told them, "Then someone was in my room last night." Even as I type this, my hands have begun shaking and I've teared up. The police were cold, even though there was little they could do at that point. Apparently, my parents woke up. All of the doors to the outside were standing wide open, and there was a duffel bag at the bottom of the stairs. All that was inside was a coil of nylon rope and an empty USB flash drive. I don't want to think about what it was for. The intruder hadn't taken anything, and we have no idea why they left in what appeared to be a hurry. It took me about a week to be able to sleep in my own room, a sanctuary which felt violated and frightening to me now. I carry pepper spray, sleep with a machete next to my bed, and double-check my locks every single night. Hopefully, this would never happen again, but if it does, hopefully I won't freeze. It's been 10 years, and my most common nightmare is that someone is in my room, standing in the shadows, watching me. My husband and I live in a very rural place. It's known as a holler from where we're from. For those who don't know, a holler is a hollow or a road that runs along a creek in a valley between 2 mountains. Our nearest neighbor is about 100 yards away on one side and through a wooded area on the other. The way our house is laid out, if you drive up our hill and park, you'll come to the back door. The front door faces the road, and no one ever knocks on our front door. One night, a couple years ago, I decided to go to bed a little earlier than my husband. He stayed up playing video games in the living room. I had been asleep for a couple of hours when my husband bust through the door of the bedroom, freaking out. He's mumbling and rambling in a desperate whisper. He has his phone in his hand, and I can make out the light shining on his face. I'm so out of it at first that I can't make sense of what he's saying. I lay there for a second, and then suddenly I hear him clearly whisper, and he's trying to break down the door. I sit bolt upright in bed, asking what on earth is he talking about. He shushes me, tells me to whisper, and says he has to call 911. I glance at the clock and it's 3 a.m. I reach to turn on the light and he loudly whispers, "No." He gets through to 911 and tells them that we need assistance at our address. I catch a few details, but my head is still spinning after he gets off the phone with them and he tells me what has happened. It was late and he was still up playing a game when suddenly he heard heavy footsteps on the porch. He paused his game to listen and there was a knock and another knock and then repetitive beating on the door. He could hear a man's voice but could not make out what he was saying. Instead of opening the door, he decided to walk out the back door and around to the front of the house to see who it was. He thought it could possibly be our older neighbor needing help with his wife. So he walks out the back door and around to the front and sees a large man dressed all in black, carrying a duffel bag. At this point, the man is pounding on the door so hard that it looked like he was trying to break it in. My husband waits for a second and asks the guy if he needs help or something. The man apparently didn't realize that my husband was behind him because he started yelling into the door, "Just let me in, I won't hurt you." At this point, my husband decides no more questions are necessary. He runs back in the house, locks the door, turns out the light in the kitchen, and bursts into the bedroom to call 911 and to wake me up. After he calls 911, we wait huddled in darkness for 40 minutes for a policeman to show up at our house. 40 minutes. His excuse? Small town, no one was on duty, and he had been sleeping. It was 3 a.m. after all. The policeman doesn't even get out of his car either. He just sits there and spotlights the house from our driveway as my husband goes outside and tells him the story and describes what he could of the man. The cop leaves, my husband comes back in, and we sit in the darkness of our bedroom, terrified until daybreak, wondering who the guy was and what he was going to do to us if he actually did get in. Hi everybody, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. And if ever you want to send me a story to read, you can send it to my email, which is in the description of the video. If you want to follow me on my social media, links and information about my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages are in the description too. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell. Again, thanks for watching.